It's Valentine's Day, or as I like to think of it, Candy Markdown Eve. And it's ironic because I did not love this book. Segue. So today we're going to be talking about 100 One-Night Reads by David C. Major and John S. Major. The basic premise of this book is pretty simple. It's 100 books that you could conceivably read in a single sitting, and there is an essay about each one telling you what it's about and why you might want to read it. Let's start out with the good things. As I was reading this, I had a stack of post-it notes with me, and I stuck a post-it next to the essay of each book that I wanted to read, and I did put in a lot of post-its, as you can see. And there were several more books in here that I have already read and liked, or that were books that I already wanted to read. I mean, there were some that didn't sound appealing to me, but I think that's gonna happen with any kind of book like this. So I did find this book useful. Now on to the bad things. There were three main problems that I had here. Number one, the narrative voice of this book is so douchey. Like, here, I'll just read you a little bit from the intro. Modern leisure does not provide enough to us because it often does not demand enough of us. Much of the entertainment available today, TV programs, movies, and magazines of uninspiring banality, demands nothing at all. One is reduced to the role of a mere spectator. Reading, in contrast, is an activity. Though one sits nearly motionless in a comfortable chair, reading challenges and engages one's mind. A reader is a participant in his or her own recreation and finishes a book with a sense of accomplishment, a feeling of engagement, and an awareness that he or she has been restored and refreshed in a way that a spectatorship cannot provide. Of course, you already know this, or you would not be reading this book. Oh, God, like, the whole thing is just so self-congratulatory. Like, it's just the most bald-faced flattery of their potential reader. You two are right about one thing. I am smart. Not because I read, but because I have critical thinking skills that I can utilize to tell if someone is, say, trying to pander to me. Number two, there were several points while I was reading this where I just had to go, guys, I think maybe you don't understand the premise of your own book. Like, I would say the majority of books in here are definitely ones that you could conceivably read in an evening. Some of them are not. Like, The Great Gatsby is in here. And I mean, The Great Gatsby is one of my favorite books. And like, I guess you could conceivably read it in one night, but I don't know why you would. I certainly wouldn't recommend it. I think you would lose a lot of the nuance. And then there's Beowulf, which, I mean, granted they are recommending a specific translation that is supposed to be particularly exciting, but I mean, I've actually read Beowulf, and I don't think it qualifies for this list. Dubliners by James Joyce. Oh, come on, now you're just being pretentious. And I mean, when I read this, I was more interested in books that were good than, you know, how quickly I could read them. But still, don't call your book 100 One-Night Reads unless that's actually what it is. And three, and this is the big one, this isn't really something you need to own. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to read this again, so it's just gonna, you know, sit on my shelf. Sadly, unless I lend it to someone. Like, maybe I'll go back and skim one of the essays if I want to remember why I wanted to read that particular book and what sounded appealing about it, but other than that, so I would say that even though there's some good information in this book, and I found a lot of it useful, you should really only read it if you can get it from the library, if you can buy a used copy for cheap. Like, my copy was $2.63, and I wouldn't pay much more for it than that if I were you. Or I guess you could trick a friend into buying it and borrow it from them. So if you have also read this book, I would love to know what you thought about it in the comments down below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye.